Sorry about
Okay,
that.
now I see you. I see you
Okay,
now.
sorry about that. Uh,
No problem. It's probably the
okay, so
internet
yeah,
shaking. Yeah.
so my friend, from yeah, so my friend James, his wife from South Africa, was largely saying that like a lot of our critical assessment of South Africa, is spot on. That South African government, the white South African government, did try to buy off, folks within the color community and the South Asian community. It largely did not work, and she says that white South Africa got off very easy with the fact that the ANC never pursued anything within their freedom charter, and that indeed uh, social racial apartheid is gone, but economic apartheid remains the same. And she was saying that she would consider herself middle class, but that South Africa is so grossly unequal that a middle class person could easily be considered a rich person because of just how poor the working class are and the destitution that the unemployed face. Very curious your response to that.
Yeah, I think that is happening today. There's been several attempts to destabilize the South African government over the years, even recent years. If we remember, under the Biden administration, they were being accused of selling arms to the Russian Federation after the special military operation was embarked upon in Ukraine. Then, after the Al Aqsa flood and the open, aggressive, genocidal tactics of the Israeli Defense Forces and the Israeli state as a whole, they went to the International Court of Justice. This was in December of 2023 to file suit for violation of the Genocide Convention. This angered not only the state of Israel, but also US imperialism under Biden. And then under Trump, of course, it has continued. And under Trump, they've come up with this fantasy about Africans carrying out genocide against the minority white population. That was in 2025 in order to isolate the Republic of South Africa internationally. That didn't work either. So today, right here on the eve of local government elections, they're generating animosity between the people in South Africa and those who live in neighboring African states. And it's a totally ridiculous argument because approximately 4% of the population was born outside of South Africa. Moreover, South Africa is an imperialist construct. Uh, People from Malawi, from Lesotho, from Eswatini, Zimbabwe, Zambia have all, traveled and worked in South Africa going back over 150 years. I mean, the mining system was set up regionally. So they had workers that came from all of these states now, which are considered Southern African Development Community states, that have worked in South Africa for decades and decades. So for these enemy agents to say that all the so-called foreigners have to leave the country is absurd, that this is somehow going to improve the economy. In fact, it's worsening the economy because it's discouraging investment, and it's a huge attack on productivity inside the country. They said that the so-called foreigners are taking their jobs, which is ridiculous. The unemployment rate will not improve, it will worsen after what has happened over the last month or so in South Africa.
And South African capitalism benefits from this horrendous arrangement where they basically get cheap labor from Lesotho, Eswatini, Botswana, and other neighboring countries to come to South Africa to work in these mines. What those miners, both South African and those overseas, need, the, not overseas, those neighboring countries need is basic worker protection, a living wage that matches with inflation, and a nationalization of the mining industry.
Yeah, this is what the unions are saying. It's what the ANC, the South African Communist Party, the EFF, and others progressive forces in the country are saying that. And this is not going to do anything except damage the country even further, damage their image within the African Union member states, because South Africa was considered a model for social transformation and political transformation. But when you have a situation where Africans from other parts of Africa are being targeted for repression, for violence, and deportation, this is not going to do anything except damage the image of South Africa. So they have to get on top of this, quelch this counter-revolutionary movement that's going on. June 30th, just the other day, they had demonstrations in various parts of the country, not against Zionism, not against capitalism and imperialism, but against their own fellow Africans. You know, this is absolutely absurd. So it wasn't as much violence as they had anticipated, but still people are leaving, which is going to be damaging to the overall image of South Africa as a state.
Well, here's hoping cooler heads will prevail. Yes. And a final message I'll give, is also the following: there's been efforts of people. They call themselves MAGA communists and so forth like that, who call themselves the American Communist Party and so forth like that. And these people are basically, I wouldn't even call them left nationalists. I would call them pseudo left nationalists who basically believe in marginalizing the queer community, waving that red, white, and blue flag. We should be proud to be Americans and so forth. We want our working class to get a good cut of the capitalist pie. And there needs to be a warning for folks to not engage with these people. I know George Galloway is very friendly with this Jackson Hinkle, who has grotesque views, not just on the trans community, but just in general. It's just a right winger, just just a right winger, and we have to really say to people to not be playing footsie with the far right and so forth. And that's a message I want to convey, because because I believe even within the Black community, these sort of ADOS folks and these like foundational Black Americans who also they also are people who basically just want their cut of the capitalist pie and Black capitalism and so forth. And we don't want any solidarity with Africans. We don't want any solidarity with Haitians, with Jamaicans, with the Caribbeans, and who gives a shit about, our Afro-Latino brothers and sisters in the non-binary. And anyways, we have to resist all of these efforts to infiltrate leftist movement and leftist thoughts in rushing us back with two reactionary forces, whether it's the white neoliberalism of the Democrats or the reactionary, grotesque, white supremacy of the Republican Party. Any other things you want to say before we close?
Yeah, I agree with that, and I think whether it's the so-called MAGA communists or the ADOS or the FBAs, they're all, in my opinion, a manifestation of CIA counterintelligence operations, right-wing think tank operations to divide people, to capitulate, actually, to racism and fascism in the United States. That's what they're doing. Anytime they say they support Trump, but at the same time they oppose war abroad, it's absurd, because Trump is waging war domestically and internationally. His terrorist programs were centered on that. His attacks on migrants inside the United States and on oppressed people who were even born inside the United States is a manifestation of imperialism and fascism in its contemporary phase. And if you talk about the American descendants of slaves, the whole concept is absurd. If you ever try to debate with these people, they know nothing about history, nothing about the history of imperialism or the world. We don't know where our ancestors landed. Some of us do, a lot of them don't. A lot of them did come through the Caribbean. A lot of them did come through South America. So are you saying that there's no basis for solidarity with our African brothers and sisters, many of whom fought against enslavement on the continent? We've discussed this over the last year with our African history and contemporary affairs series. We got documented proof now that this is a Pan-African movement. It's international. So I think they're just there to divide people and to give comfort and aid to the enemies. And that, when I say enemies, I mean the imperialists and the fascists who are quite active right now. It's the same ideology that's being infected in the Republic of South Africa to suggest that there's some fundamental difference or lack of interest, common interest between people who live right across the border, who was captured and divided by the imperialists, that there's no basis for unity. And that if these people are ejected from South Africa, or if they're ejected from the United States, the working class and the oppressed will be will be beneficial, will be benefited by such a reality. It will be just the opposite, just the opposite. The rights of, you got women right now here in the state of Michigan who are dying in detention centers. There are migrants who are also dying in detention centers here in Michigan. So what is the difference? And you're talking about reparations based on what? There's been no reparations to African people anywhere in the world. So you're arguing about something that doesn't even exist. Who's eligible to get reparations that don't even exist? I mean, it's absurd, So I think these are some of the elements that are being injected, into discourse in the United States. In Europe, we can see it with the Reform UK and Restore UK and the English Defense League. In France, with the National Rally. In Germany, the Alternatives for Deutschland. All these right-wing parties are pushing this exclusivist program. It's not going to benefit the working class, and it's not going to benefit the oppressed at all. In fact, it's going to make the situation worse, as Trump has done here in the United States.
And my final message is this: on on the eve of the 4th of July, folks, I would just call on the American left people power movement, whether it's organized labor, whether it's eco-socialists, whether it's those involved in the anti-xenophobia movement and the rights of undocumented or otherwise, the Black left movement, the Latinx left movement, the feminist movement, and queer liberationists. We all need to unite, but we all need to show urgent solidarity to the plight of Native Americans, Indigenous Hawaiians, and Indigenous Alaskans. I would say that I think the Canadian left is much better at showing more urgent solidarity to Indigenous people, and I want the American left to do
exactly
the same. And on that note, so folks, we were joined on this special edition of 1+1, this two-part current affairs edition with Abayomi Azikiwe of Pan-African Newswire and Black Agenda Report. Please subscribe and donate generously to them. And yes, next week, we will continue our Africa series, the final chapters. We'll be covering the history and current affairs of the island nation of Comoros. Join us for that. And don't forget, folks, to share widely 1+1 on Facebook and elsewhere, because Facebook blocks me from sharing widely, so it's important that people like, share, love, and comment and so forth. Our only way of overcoming the avalanche of junk journalism. And I'll also link to this special relief for those suffering in Gaza, in memory of my friend Fiona's mom who passed away. And don't forget to also support the Eclectic Radical, because Chris is struggling right now. Until then, good night and good luck, folks, and see you next week. And Abayomi, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you.